Welcome to Troon Talk, where we dig deep into the work we're doing here at Troon Vineyard in Oregon's Applegate Valley. But today we're not here to talk about at the Applegate. We're talking about a new project that was launched late last year in McMinnville in the heart of the Willamette Valley. This is our Troon Vineyard Biodynamic Wine Bar. And here to talk about the process, we're very happy to welcome Brian and Denise White, proprietors of Troon Vineyard.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, good morning.
So let's start. After so many years of Troon Vineyard having a satellite tasting room in Carlton, what was the process and how did you make the choice to move to McMinnville?
Well, I'll start off with, when we acquired Troon in 2017, we were looking at all the different possibilities. And the analogy that I would give is like, if you're in Napa Valley, do you want to be in Napa City or do you want to be in Calistoga? And so for people that may not be familiar with that, it's like, Carlton is a wonderful town. It's a great destination for people to walk around. But as far as the being the epicenter of the wine industry, obviously McMinnville is where you want to be at. And so, again, a lot of things happen by, I would say, serendipity, that is one of our distributors. But so this kind of came about like not on purpose. I mean, we had 2 years left in our lease in Carlton. And, we were up there doing a wine dinner at Rose Marino's, great destination, and Meg's like, hey, we've got this space in Dayton I think we need to go look at. And it was fantastic. It's a beautiful church that was converted into a restaurant and had a lot of infrastructure that really wasn't going to work for us. And while we were there, the real estate agent says, well, we have this space on 3rd Street in McMinnville. And I'm like, do you guys want to go look at it? I'm like, we're looking at each other like, are you kidding? Are you kidding? So we go there and it's like this cavernous 2,700 square foot space, complete blank palette. And so we walked in there and I'm like, yeah, I mean, we need to try and figure out if we can make this happen. So it wasn't like a purposeful thing that happened. It's just, it all just kind of happened, and it's just all about taking advantage of the opportunity to be where we need to be. And so I thought it was kind of an interesting, like I said, serendipity, lucky, for us to actually be in the right place at the right time and just have somebody hey, by the way, we have this other thing that's might work better for you. So that's kind of how it all got kicked off.
Well, once you discovered the location, how did you put together the vision and assemble the team to execute that vision?
We did some researching on what kind of team we wanted and needed. And it's where we came across Zach and Mary Beth and looked at their site and so forth. Plus the fact that they are local was also meant a lot for us. And then
I think initially I was like thinking, okay, we need to go to a big Portland firm. Just that's kind of what I was thinking. But we kept like talking to people, and Zach and Mary Beth's name kept coming up, and it's like, okay, we need to sit down and meet with these guys. And so it's one of those things where people think as entrepreneurs, you always have like a black and white program, how you do things. We really try and listen to other people in the industry and around and try and figure out who are the best partners to work with. And, thankfully we came across Mary Beth and Zach, and, they're great, been great partners in this adventure that we had there. Mary Beth is, I believe, has a degree in architecture. She's not just a designer, interior designer. She is like really has the background. I mean, I've worked with a lot of interior designers in the past, and they don't have the educational background that she has to actually do real space design. And I've seen people make mistakes like, how much space do I need behind a counter? What kind of, there are metrics that go behind that. And I've seen designers make mistakes because they don't understand that. So she has a great educational background and vision that worked out really well for us. Zach is like the executioner. I mean, was such a great person to work with on the
whole project.
Yeah, implementing everything and putting everything on a timeline. As a project manager, and I don't know what he thinks he is. I mean, he's a great project manager. He can technically do anything. I mean, a lot of the stuff he can do by himself, but they've assembled such a great team of contractors that really made the whole process very seamless. And, we're very thankful that we all cross paths, because these guys are, experts at what they do. They know the community well. They've helped us to cross a lot of hurdles as far as the project goes. And, I'd like to turn it over to Mary Beth and Zach for a couple of minutes, just for them to say, or to describe what their backgrounds are. And then we'll jump into how we got onto the design project.
Well, actually, I was going to try to put it on to Zach first, because he's better at talking about our company and its overview. But I'm Mary Beth Branch with Branch Geary. The Branch is my last name, we just figured out recently that people thought it was our branch office of Geary Inc. So I just want to make that really clear. But so did the design work. That was those were such kind words. And I really appreciate that, Brian. I was just thinking this morning about when we first met in real life, in the midst of COVID and all the weirdness. And it's an interesting time to meet new people and to be doing this kind of work. But within 5 minutes of meeting you guys at your old space, and I think it was all of us actually that are here today, that Craig and Meg, who maybe reluctantly is sitting here next to me, but is here. We all 6 of us met together. And I mean, within 5 minutes, I just was so comfortable and happy to have met some new people, and some people we had known from a distance before. And that, Denise and Brian are so down to earth and also know exactly what they need and what they want, and are so great at empowering others to do what they do well, to allow a process to really move seamlessly and quickly, and have these great team members with them that are also just seamless at doing their job. And so we were working on a tight timeline and like we kind of mentioned before, a kind of different way to be getting to know someone and doing a project like this. But I think it was, within a few minutes, Craig had brought out their new labels that Troon had been going through this big rebranding effort and had done such a, really beautiful job of that. And I'd asked to see some of their new labels or the pieces they'd put together. And I think I probably pinched Zach or something, was really I really want to do this project. That was all I needed to see. This is so exciting. And they were organic and natural, but really fresh and really timeless, which as a designer is often sometimes hard to find clients that really want to do projects that are just really focused on the long term and not that first kind of big splashy thing at the time, if that makes sense. That didn't make any sense, but timeless. It was so great. And also just simple, and that they're not flashy people. The brand isn't flashy, but how do we create a space in this new area that's really just their own? They had purchased the winery and the tasting room, or, the lease to the tasting room, those different things in the years past. And so this was really their opportunity to create it the way they envisioned it and the way that they, just wanted it to really be theirs. And so it was so fun to get to be a part of that process. And I remember Brian also had like a vision board of sort of different things he showed us on his computer. And I'm always really nervous when, people first bring those out. Like, I'm not quite sure how it's going to mesh. And it was just perfect. Like, his vision just immediately kind of connected and responded with the things that I could already kind of see in my own brain. And I think Zach and I both, maybe through different avenues, have been familiar enough with the space they were moving into to kind of know what could be done. And it was kind of a blank palette, which is always, it's always fun to get to be able to come in and do what you want to do. And it just started off on such a good note that I was so excited right from the get-go.
Hi, thanks, Zach Geary, Branch Geary Design Build. We're a local building and design general contractor here in McMinnville, Oregon. It was just, such a treat to be able to work on this project with this team and Brian and Denise. And it was very clear that we would get along and have success together from early on, in that the way they treated us was the same way that we treat our subs and suppliers and the people that we work with. We put good people on the team. We have a strong transfer of trust, and we let people do their job and be successful, because that's the way that you can really get good organic results. And so it just is super collaborative. And given that Brian and Denise sit where they sit and run multiple operations sort of all over, that transfer of trust was super important. And it's both, it's very rewarding to be a part of the project where we get to do that. More specifically about the tasting room itself, when we walked in there, that, as Mary Beth alluded to, we being sort of native McMinnvillians and especially down in and involved in 3rd Street, to the tune that we have, Mary Beth and I are both past board members for the McMinnville Downtown Association and remain active in the community. And having been a part of that project, not been a part of it, having watched that project go on, where they kept the facade of the building and tore the entire historic old building down around it and built up new, knowing that it was meant to be a 2-story tech office for a tech company. So walking in there, it still had white boring cubicles of a tech office. And the challenge was sort of on Mary Beth to turn it from a sterile computer environment to a beautiful, warm, comforting place to sit and enjoy the community that you get in McMinnville when you drink some Troon wine. And it was a tall order, but she nailed it, home run, and it was really fun to be a part of. A couple of interesting things and some challenges were, not beyond taking a white, sterile, concrete environment and making that it did, was sort of operating our own project and needing to move our deliverables along inside of a bigger project. The building had its own timeline that it was moving on to get complete and finish. And it turned out we were going to have our project exist inside of another project. And so after we figured out and navigated that, I think I actually remember when we started, it was the 4th of July weekend, because I was out camping with my family and got a call from the building owner. What are these guys doing to our building? And it was sort of like, oh, I guess this is going to be an extra wrinkle and an extra hurdle, extra challenge to the project. But we navigated it, and in what I would feel like is record time of 3 months, to an October 1 opening to let you guys get open, and then an end of October grand opening party, if I'm not mistaken, to do the work we did. I'm really proud of. And again, we could only do that with sort of that transfer of trust being full and 100%, and allowing us to do our job and be good communicators and bring things to you guys when it needed be, and put good people in the right positions to succeed. One of the more fun elements you can see behind Mary Beth and Meg in the McMinnville tasting room is a new and unique product, not only to us, not only to McMinnville or tasting rooms in general, but kind of to the market at large, is a wood panel product from a company called Du Chateau. And it's a product we got to sort of discover a new use for in the application we did. And the box came, and it if you've ever opened an IKEA thing and it has a picture of a guy sort of pointing at it, and then a step 2 is it's done. That's basically what the instruction manual was when we opened the box for that product. And so it was a really fun part, and part of what I think is really fun about being a builder is every day is a new and unique puzzle to solve and a challenge to figure out your way through, and you end up with a really beautiful product that people might not know how it got put together. So we spent a lot of time, effort, and energy figuring out how to make that work with a illuminated backdrop and a beautiful front cover. And secret is, if you go task Meg, you can change the colors of the light behind it. So go ahead and explore that next time you're down there. But it was a really, really fun thing. And there's a bunch of little hidden treasures throughout that tasting room, with all the walnut slats and the way we put the back bar lights together, and the way we put all the cubbies and cabinets together, and the way that the entire bar section is entirely ADA compliant is something we're super proud of. That normally what you find is people do sort of the bare minimum to meet the ADA standard in the code. We have, arguably half the tasting seating is ADA compliant. And so we were super careful and cautious to make sure we were carving out spaces for everyone and making not only a welcome space just in feel, but an actual function too. So hats off to Mary Beth for making sure that that was part of the place. So Mary Beth, I don't know if you want to talk more specifically about any of the features and the care and caution put into not only the overall big pieces, but the small little pieces like the hexagonal ottomans or footrests or whatever you call them. But it was really fun.
It was really fun. And it was fun to get to, as the sort of design hat, to really get to do it from the very beginning to the very end. Like we're, this is kind of my fault. We're not quite done, but we're, still there's some rugs and things that are getting put in, and we're still kind of working on some more frames of little pieces. But it's like from the very big picture of, it was a change of occupancy application, like Zach had talked with a little bit. So it wasn't just coming in and making something pretty. It's a lot more complicated than that, a lot more of a puzzle, which is why I love what I do, and that we were needing to change the occupancy to be appropriately, rated for what they needed to use it for with a wine bar. So meaning we had to pay a lot of attention to meeting the Department of Agricultural standards, and which is a little different with the wine bar, but and also code compliance and working within the framework of the bigger picture of the building and egress. And like Zach mentioned too, is that ADA compliance is just a really important, it's always been really important to me as a designer and through architecture school, and that it really big picture is about inclusivity and approachability of experiences that we all have and we take for granted, so many of us every day. And so this space was a great way to be able to show that good design can actually be made better by being really approachable, rather than it being this kind of, sore thumb or something that gets placed on it at the end. And how does every single person of every ability and every age and every, just walk of life able to come in and have a space that works for them? And so as a designer, it's a fun challenge to think about how people maneuver through the space. We're talking about it needs to be comfortable for staff. It also needs to be comfortable for someone coming in, just by themselves with their laptop in the middle of the day, to get to just sit and have a quiet space to maybe work and have, a glass of wine if they need to, or a great charcuterie board, which is so amazing. Like my 8-year-old son and I come in a lot for day dates with that charcuterie board. So, but then what about the parties, that come in, and it's like an 8-person gathering, which is kind of the maximum sort of space that doesn't become too maybe, how would you call that? Too loud. Yeah. But it's coming in and they want to be able to feel like they're having fun, but they have like an intimate space that's dedicated to theirs. And then how do you also make it work for a more like romantic 2-person thing? And how do you make it flexible for all those things to happen at the same time, or for there to be a larger gathering that's intended for half of the use or the whole use of the space? And then we add on a different layer of COVID compliance, at the time, and not just in similar ways of talking about ADA compliance, not just complying with the rules, but really like thinking about why the rules are there and how do you actually create a safe space or, a feeling of safety for your people that are here and your long-term wine club members and all of that. And so and then how do you do that within just an overall approach that in 20 years, you're not wondering, gosh, why? Oh, I heard there was this COVID thing in 2020 and they designed everything around it, which is not what we're going for. And so what was so fun was to create these little niches of spaces. So we have like the larger table towards the back, kind of to our right here for, it has an expandable kind of middle leaf in it. So it could be a smaller group or a larger group. We have our three, alcoves. I've called them so many things that they're nooks, they're cubbies, they're alcoves that you can see behind us that, create not just an illusion of some privacy, but you really do have some visual and kind of audio privacy to have a smaller group gathering. And then you can be at the bar hanging out with everyone, or you can be at the front, really people watching in a cozier spot. And I think the thing that I may be most proud of with this project is how we created all of those different spaces and different uses, all within this one big open area, and so it's about creating kind of three-dimensional space or the appearance of it. And so we built these kind of faux columns that support the original historic beams. They don't really support them, but they appear to support them. Historic beams in the ceiling to create what was once just this one huge space into 4 separate zones outside of the alcoves behind us. And then inside each zone, the palette of colors and materials is really simple and really the same, but used in kind of fun and different ways. And so Zach talking about the walnut kind of 3-dimensional backlit panels behind us, which look a little goofy in the Zoom lighting, I'm not going to lie, but we had these samples in our office for a couple of years before. There's a local rep who's also, a friend and great to work with, working with Du Chateau, that had given us some things a while back, and I'd never found the right place to use them, but I knew that someday that would come along, and I just loved them so much. And then, it's hard not to love black walnut sort of to begin with, but I also had the tile that's used for the sort of backsplash area on 2 of the zones, on the back bar wall, is seriously a piece that has been in my garage for like 4 years because I just loved it so much and couldn't find the quite appropriate place to use. And so everything came together with like this palette of, these natural materials, really durable stainless steel. How do we also create something that works for Meg and for her staff up here, and that's not going to get ruined by, wine being set on it in a wine glass that spills and doesn't have a coaster. It's like real life. And how do you use upholstery in fabrics that feels like a living room, but is a commercial grade fabric and intended for a high level of use? And so there's so many things used in different ways. And the walnut especially is a real, she's kind of steals the show, which she's intended to, but is used in 4 or 5 different ways throughout the space with kind of subtle differences. And like Zach mentioned too, that there's a lot of geometric components to the design of things in here without, or I hope what we managed to do it without making it too trendy. And so the tile on the backsplash that I was just talking about that I love so much, just they're rectangular tiles, but they have like ribbing in them that's actual 3-dimensional that creates these triangular shapes. And then the pattern on the floor with the rug in the front has these really small geometrical elements to it. And then the ottomans themselves are mostly, are they I'm never good at this.
I think they're hexagons.
Hexagons. There we go. How many sides does it have? But those are probably my favorite piece of furniture, in that they are so many different things. So they're a side table that comes with this like special top you can put on it that's used really for serving. They are also used as a kind of coffee table if they're combined together to make a different shape, or they can be pulled aside and used as extra seating when the need arises. And at the first, I guess it was at the grand opening. Yeah, not the soft opening. I told Meg and Denise and Brian, I was just way too excited. Like the thing that I really, really was excited about, people were like, it's so beautiful. I was like, I already knew it was beautiful. It's beautiful, but people were.
Good. I want to jump in here for just a second because we really haven't gotten back to like the original design concept. I mean, we all met together and I had my computer and I presented you with a lot of different things. So I showed you a transitional bar that everything was completely white. Mm-hmm. I showed you an industrial application in a winery. I showed you a really contemporary wine bar in Portland and all these different things. And ultimately, I used to think my style was eclectic and I didn't really understand what transitional was all about. And I think you've made an application here where you're applying transitional interior design in a really unique way. And so what you've done is you've taken texture, I never thought green could be a neutral palette or gray floors could be a neutral palette, but you've taken all those things and you've applied those design concepts there so that what we end up with is a blending of all these elements. Where always think of somebody says my style is eclectic, that means there's not a flow between things. But in transitional design, it's like you're taking things from different time periods, eras, and trying to create something that's timeless, which I think, is what we tried to do, is not do something that's trendy or glitzy for right now, but something that can weather the time. And I think you, as I've said before, I think you really got inside my head, which is probably scary for a minute. But I mean, I think you really, you've crafted something from a design standpoint that I think you guys have completely skirted around that whole process, because we can talk about technically what you guys have done, which is fabulous, but I think the design concept here is just outstanding. And so I just wanted to point that out, that you pulled together a lot of different concepts that we talked about and blended all those things together in a way that I think is very difficult to do. And it's of course the results are outstanding. So.
And I so appreciate that. And I think that that's a good point too. I mean, like taking a step back, I guess, if I think about sort of what went on in my head and on paper, during that process, right? Taking those pictures, taking those conversations, and then also trying really intentionally from the beginning to take information from Meg and from staff about, not just about how it looks, but how it's used and how they need it to be used, which is sometimes a fun process too, when you're thinking what they had been using before was so much different in scale, in particular with size. And so trying to work through it's a similar approach, actually, like, for example, your pictures of some kind of inspiration images. I often find that my job, or what I love doing the most, is being able to pull all of those pictures together and kind of pinpoint, what are the things that connect these all? What are the things that actually maybe are similar, or, they don't look similar, but they have something in terms of, really clean lines and aesthetics, a real purpose for what the materials are. There isn't just extra frivolous things added for no reason. I often, when I just ramble on and on all the time with Zach, and my goal is always, and I think this is something really from architecture school specifically, is because I approach it from architecture, and I think in general, and that's always my first way of looking at something, instead of maybe just the interiors element of it. But I want to be able to finish a project with everything that's nailed and screwed into the walls, right? Like before you've put in a single piece of furniture or a single thing on the shelves, and for it to feel beautiful all on its own. And that's really important to me. And so that everything else you add to it is just this extra special thing, but it's not what defines it. And so you gave me so many great things to work with, and some of them, and then I think we talked through more of like, okay, you like this, but what is it that you really love about this, Brian, right? Like, what is the big thing? And trying to kind of dig into what are the pieces that really drew you to that one thing? And then how do we pull all those things together into one kind of harmonious design? It's always the goal. And it's always nice to hear clients say that you met it. So thank you.
And of course, I would be remiss without, always refer to you guys as the Three Musketeers, because, and Meg is the lead musketeer, because she had to, we're not going to get into all the background of all the things that we had to do to get this pulled together. But, you guys and Denise have did a great job at managing this. And of course, Zach was always there, but the guys, we take the back seat, so it's not a problem. I always tried to not get so much involved in the day-to-day kinds of things going on, but you guys did a great job. And thanks Meg and Denise, and Mary Beth for what you guys did to get the project across the finish line. It took a lot of effort, and like I said, we could spend a lot of time talking about all the challenges that we had, and of course, putting a commercial business space and doing a reapplication of that's always difficult. And we had all the issues to deal with the city and the sprinkler system and all these different things. You guys navigated all that expertly and, with lots of patience. And so I appreciate all that. The nuts and bolts of putting this together was very difficult. Of course, like I said, from the start to finish, as far as the design concept to the finished product was phenomenal. And I think we're listed as the number 4 destination for Willamette Valley out of 14, and Travel and Leisure magazine. That might not be the right magazine. We can probably insert whatever it is. But anyway, we've had other people that are coming out here. I think it's, this is a destination for people to come and enjoy. And, our whole concept was to develop and design something that meets the expectation of our clients, and to elevate our wine and, what we're doing as far as on the farm and all those types of things. So I think we successfully did those things. So Meg, do you have any comments? Can you talk to us a little bit?
Meg dealt with me at least every day for 6 months and continues to. She's amazing.
I think this was such a fun project to be a part of, and I'm really fortunate that I got to be a part of it from the beginning through our grand opening and forward. Certainly a much larger project than I think any of us really were expecting it to be, but that also makes it kind of like more rewarding to have been able to see all of this all the way through, and have the ability to say to Mary Beth and Zach, here are our day-to-day things that we really need out of something. This is how people use a space, or this is how we hope that people will be using a space. This is our hopeful end goal. And as Mary Beth said, during our grand opening, I think it was really rewarding to see so many people wanting to come celebrate with us, but B, that our goal of how we were hoping people were going to utilize the space is how they wound up utilizing the space. So I think it was really rewarding to see especially during the grand opening, that people were utilizing the space the way that we hoped that they would utilize the space, and that things were done. What we had in theory worked in practical use as well. Because I think that with a project as large as this, you can have all of these grand plans, but you never truly know how people are going to want to use something in practical application. And it was just fantastic to be able to see that we had people sitting at both of our bars, both our ADA compliant bar and our traditional bar height bar, that people felt free and comfortable to move those ottomans around to maybe make a little bit of a larger group area for themselves in a spot that might not have been designed specifically for a larger amount of people. And since that point, we have seen that people have really enjoyed utilizing these spaces in this way. And we have people making requests for specific alcoves for a group of 5 because they wanted to just have a quiet little girls gathering, or they had a family gathering and they wanted a quieter area instead of being maybe out at the front of the space. Fortunately, we utilize a great reservation system that allows for people to make those requests, and we certainly try to accommodate those as frequently as we can. I grew up in McMinnville, and so I have always just loved the feel of this town, and it was so heartwarming that the day after Thanksgiving, we got to sit from a prime location and watch the Christmas parade happen right in front of us. And that people wanted to be inside where it was maybe a little bit warmer and enjoy a glass of wine while they watched this cute little community do what it does best.
Awesome.
Well, Brian and Denise, now that the project is complete, how do you envision Troon's future in McMinnville?
Well, I think it's bright. I mean, I think,
Totally.
again, the goal was not to be a leader in the community, but I think we're leading by example. I think, biodynamics, regenerative organic farming, and all the concepts that we are implementing in Southern Oregon, I think really translates to the space in McMinnville. And we hope to be able to take the education and understanding of what we're doing on the farm to as many people as we can as far as education. Obviously, the wine speaks for itself. And so, I think it's, it's like I said, it's all through the front windshield for us at this point. It's like, we really want people to have a beautiful space they can enjoy. We want to be able to educate people on biodynamics and regenerative organics. We want to be able to continue to be leaders in the community, which Meg has done a great job, representing our organization in the North. And, I think it's been a great project for us, and we look forward to having many, many years in McMinnville to promote our wines and our philosophy as far as farming and making wine goes.
Right.
Well, thanks to everyone for sharing this exciting. It was an exciting project, and obviously the results are equally exciting. So we invite everyone to visit us in McMinnville, and of course visit us at the winery too. So thank you, and we'll see you on the next Troon Talk.
Thanks, everybody.
Have a great day. Thank you.